Let's get to work. Okay. GM. In case you don't have those playlists. I mean, they're custom designed just for us. Here is the link to that playlist. Okay, so yesterday I gave you guys some assigned reading. How many of you went and did that? Curious. Message to Garcia. Anybody read it? What about?
So sorry, I forgot about that, Michael. I was so busy yesterday. Sorry, I'll read it
Goodness.
today.
Yeah, you're running a risky business. Message to Garcia.
Yesterday was just extra busy. Been so busy with work.
Was it?
Yeah, it was good busy though. It
Okay.
means there are a lot of people are buying homes and stuff.
Are they?
Yeah, I was like, I get a lot of wanting to buy a house, refinance, all that stuff.
Oh, I'm going do not disturb. Well, that's great news because Florida and California, people are not buying houses and people don't know what to do. But where is my message to Garcia file? I wanted to pull up a quote from here. But maybe I need to do it a different way. Message to Garcia. So one thing, the premise of that story is that there was a conflict of some sort, and Cuba was involved, and the United States needed to get a message to Garcia. Apparently, Garcia was in charge of Cuba at the time. But back then, no walkie-talkies, no phones, no internet, no pagers. You had homing pigeons, and you have Rowan, the man who was in charge of getting that message to Garcia. So I'll actually just pull this up right here. Message to Garcia. And one of the important points about this message to Garcia is when he was given the instructions what to do. Here we go. Here we go. So I'll drop the link in here as well. Coming in clutch, perfect getting never when it's time to shift. Okay, I'm sure there's cleaner versions, but I like this one because it's a scanned copy of the original. Okay, in all this Cuban missile, or not missile crisis, that's funny. In all this Cuban business, there is one man that stands out on the horizon of my memory like Mars at perihelion. When war broke out between Spain and the United States, it was very necessary to communicate quickly with the leader of the insurgents. Garcia was somewhere in the mountains, fastness of Cuba. No one knew where. No mail nor telegraph message could reach him. The president must secure his cooperation and quickly. What to do? Someone said to the president, "There is a fellow by the name of Rowan. He will find Garcia for you if anybody can." All right, so that's the setup. Now, what's interesting is the guy who wrote this wrote it out of I think he was the editor at a printing press, and someone didn't submit the the publication they were planning to receive, and so he wrote this in place of that. And then in fact, I believe over 100 million printings of this little booklet have happened, and that it's still required reading for I believe the Army, or maybe all the armed forces, required reading. So read it. Anyway, there's a guy named Rowan. He's got Garcia. Rowan was sent for and given a letter to be delivered to Garcia. How the fellow by the name of Rowan took the letter, sealed it up in an oilskin pouch, strapped it over his heart, in 4 days landed by night off the coast of Cuba from an open boat, disappeared into the jungle, and in 3 weeks came out on the other side of the island, having traversed a hostile country on foot, and delivered his letter to Garcia, are things I have no special desire now to tell in detail. The point that I wish to make is this. McKinley gave Rowan a letter to be delivered to Garcia. Rowan took the letter and did not ask, "Where is he at?" By the eternal, there is a man whose form should be cast in deathless bronze, and a statue placed in every college of the land. It is not a book learning young man need, nor instruction about this and that, but a stiffening of the vertebrae which will cause them to be loyal to a trust, to act promptly, concentrate their energies, do the thing. In this case, carry a message to Garcia. The way this guy writes too, incredible. Okay. Yep. I'm cracking myself up with this. General Garcia is dead now, but there are other Garcias. No man who has endeavored to carry out an enterprise where many hands were needed, but has been well nigh appalled at times by the imbecility of the average man, the inability or unwillingness to concentrate on a thing and do it. Slipshod assistance, foolish inattention, dowdy indifference, and a half-hearted work seem the rule, and no man succeeds unless by hook or crook or threat he forces or bribes other men to assist. Or mayhap God in his goodness performs a miracle and sends him an angel of light for an assistant. You, the reader, put this matter to a test. Now, this is interesting to think about. You are sitting now in an office, 6 o'clock call. Summon one and make this request. Please look in the encyclopedia and make a brief memorandum for me concerning the life of Correggio. The clerk will quietly say, "Yes, sir," and will the clerk quietly say, "Yes, sir," and do the task? On your life, he will not. He will look at you out of a fishy eye and ask one or more of the following questions. Who is he? Which encyclopedia? Where's the encyclopedia? Was I hired for that? Did you mean Bismarck? What's the matter with Charlie doing it? Is he dead? Is there any hurry? Shan't I bring you the book and let you look it up yourself? What do you want to know it for? And I will lay you 10 to 1 that after you have answered the questions and explained how to find the information and why you want it, the clerk will go off and get the other clerks to help him try to find Garcia. Then come back and tell you there is no such man. Of course, I might lose my bet, but according to the law of average, I will not. Now, if you are wise and will not bother to explain to your assistant that Correggio is indexed under the C's and not the K's, but you will smile sweetly and say, "Never mind," and go and look it up yourself. And this incapacity for independent action, this moral stupidity, this infirmity of the will, this unwillingness to cheerfully catch hold and lift, These are the things that put pure socialism so far into the future. If men will not act for themselves, what will they do when the benefit of their effort is for all? A first mate with a knotted club seems necessary, and the dread of getting the bounce Saturday night holds many a worker in his place. Advertise for a stenographer, and 9 out of 10 who apply can neither spell nor punctuate, and do not think it is necessary to. Can such a one write a letter to Garcia? You see that bookkeeper and that foreman in that large factory? Yes, what about him? Well, he's a fine accountant, but send him up 10 and he might accomplish the errand all right. On the other hand, he might stop at 4 saloons on the way when he got to Main Street and forget why he had been sent for. Now, of course, you don't have the problem of going down Main Street and stopping at saloons, but you do have a problem of going to Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and forgetting why you are even at your computer. There's one last piece. I want you to go and read this, read it to your spouse, read it to your kids. And it's only 14 pages, and I've already read the first few too. These are obviously small pages. Have I put the matter too strongly? Possibly I have, but when all the world has gone a-slumming, I wish to speak a word of sympathy for the man who succeeds, the man who, against great odds, has directed the efforts of others, and having it finds there's nothing. I've carried it, have worked for a day, also been the employer of labor, and I know there is something. There's no excellence in poverty per se. Rags are no recommendation, and employers are not rapacious and high-handed any more than all poor men are virtuous. The world cries out for such. He is needed and needed badly, the man who can carry a message to Garcia. So there you go. Yep. Okay, so that's us. When we were given the task, take the message to Garcia, to me, that's like Bob Snyder saying, make a combo sale. Right? Like it's that necessary work. And yes, we can sit there and go, well, how and what size and where's the encyclopedia? And can't you do it yourself? And then you wander down Main Street and you get lost in TikTok land. And it's too easy to just say that's hard. That sounds hard. But there are no trophies for people who don't do it. In fact, what does he say here? So he talks about how money and trophies only go to the people who can carry a message to Garcia. Yeah. So you can get a kind word if you try, but you don't even get dinner unless you carry that message to Garcia. So, all right, I think I made my point there. Carry the message to Garcia. McKinley needed that. All right, let's check the weekly top 10 real quick. I saw some. Awesome. Help. Please think legacy and a gee that. Somebody of my emails for them. Okie dokie. Oh, has not updated. Updated from the ground up. That's exciting. I think I need to read my computer. It's running too slow. Okay. Looking forward to the update. Nope. I guess maybe it'll happen later today. Okay, so tomorrow we got a special edition. So we got the live education week, and then depending on the schedule, but it looks very likely, Mr. Bill Bond be at the Investor Secret Network Mastermind tomorrow. Investor Secret Network Mastermind tomorrow. So if you're not a part of the ISN, you're missing out on some valuable resources. Yeah, holy cow, my computer is running crazy slow. Well, out of 16 gigs, what for? All right, get this out of here.
Michael, he's doing that tomorrow night in Centerville.
That was my understanding from our call yesterday. So you better get your butt there.
You're not the boss of me.
Look at what's happening. I told you.
Jenny?
I said get your butt there.
Oh, I have two bosses
Please
now.
go.
Be quiet, myself.
Oh goodness. Hey, I
I love
expect
this
you,
group and the
both of you.
accountability we all have.
That's right. I was just about to say I expect both of you to be on the top 10 next week.
I'm just walking around. Let me
Let's
get
see.
there.
Let's see. So I got a question from Aaron. He says, how do I update the calendar from attended live online to in person? Oh, that's a good question. My calendar would love to show you. Mastermind is not zoomed, or is it? She Maybe does it like 3 out of 4 times. She usually does, but sometimes.
This weekend, I think it's going to be Zoomed. And
Cool.
I think Bill will be talking this weekend. Thursday night.
All right, so there you go, Deborah. It's going to be zoomed. And we're just going to quit Google Chrome. Okay. Happy birthday, Bill. It's Bill's birthday today. Awesome. Well, GM to that, definitely be sending him a message. So he's working on his birthday. Folks, this is what I'm telling you all about and why you need to recruit more is because the kind of people that you're surrounded by, they work on their birthdays, they work on anniversaries, they work on holidays. They don't take days off. They're committed to a bigger cause. And so more than just the education that you get at Renatus, you get positive examples of the type of work ethic and how people can carry that message to Garcia. So GM to Bill. Also GM to Daine. Today's Wealth Wednesday. And so exciting, guys. We are well into spring. Summer's almost here. Things are growing. Deals are flying. Of course, you got to be in the right part of the country. I saw Florida listings jumped through the roof, as well as parts of Phoenix, Texas, and parts of California. There are more listings now on the market in these few areas around the country than there were during 2007, 2008. So some things to pay attention to. Of course, if your strategy is long-term buy and hold and you find a motivated seller, then great. But for flips, you got to be extra careful these days.
Hey, Michael, Bill is traveling to Utah right now. He said his flight was around 8. So he's probably at the airport now.
We should all blow up his phone with birthday texts. I think he'll love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Tamara, will you put his phone number in the chat, please?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to introduce you guys to Daine. For some of you who are brand new, welcome to the call. Please remember to put this calendar event on your calendar as a reminder with a pop-up. Save the link. It's the same link every time. We've done over 1,000 of these calls now. And as a benefit, as a service, as guidance for our team members and the community, this is a way of expressing our gratitude for what the system has done for us. And for Daine, it has completely revolutionized his life. When he first got started, he was working a regular old 9-to-5 job for $10 an hour. To make extra money, he would work on the weekends. And he was living in a basement, just trying to save up some money to make ends meet. Hopefully one day, someday do a deal. But what he didn't realize was Renatus was going to destroy his goals and absolutely shatter his dreams. What I mean by that is when he joined, which he said that was the most money he'd ever spent. He was extremely risk adverse in his life. He still is. That's why he's so successful. But he knew he needed to make it happen. He paid off his education that he put on a new credit card within 10 or 11 months, following the strategies, using the system, being coachable, taking action, taking that message to Garcia. And since then, he's been able to do over 300 deals, fix and flips, buy and holds, lending, creative acquisitions. And he's become a master of this process. And one thing I like about him is he lives a life by design. Life by design is not just making money, but it's who you spend your time with, how you take care of your body, what you eat, what environment you put yourself in. And this is one thing that we greatly admire about him is his life by design example. He comes out here every Wednesday to share with us updates, ideas, ask questions, get clarity, and point us in the right direction as we continue to design our lives as well. So let's give a big warm welcome to the man of the hour, Mr. Daine Clark, GM. GM. You are muted. GM to that. GM to technology.
Test.
Hey, there we go.
So I'm not sure what's going on there. Unplug and replug. Fix it every time.
Yeah,
Good
that's
morning, everybody. I hope you guys
technical diagnosis.
I hope you guys have had a wonderful week, had great conversations, closing deals, closing whatever it is that you need in your life. But what's cooking today, Michael?
Well, the Federal Reserve did not drop their interest rates last week. After we spoke yesterday, Jerome Powell had his meeting, or not yesterday, last Wednesday, and he came out and said, we're doing absolutely nothing. So with 1 quarter of negative GDP growth, one more quarter, and then we're going to be in a technical recession. So isn't that interesting? He's not dropping rates. People are still buying houses. They're just not buying houses on the coasts right now. And
yeah.
So it's interesting to hear, like yesterday, Bill talked about he's buying a house for 800,000. They're going to build it up and sell it for 3.4 mil. So there's still a huge property turnover for the higher end stuff. But I'm curious about your thoughts on, 2 weeks ago, the Treasury or the Department of Education said, hey, everyone who's been in student loan deferment, you now have to pay. Start paying.
I saw that.
And,
oh my goodness.
And last week, something that was trending on the Google searches, which, it's a funny metric, but you can see what humans are thinking when you look up what's being searched in Google.
Yeah.
It was give car back was one of the most searched things. So we have student loans kicking in, people giving cars back, interest rates staying high, and but the stock market is pumping, right? Stock market's up 17% in 2 weeks. That's a lot of money for people.
Jeez.
So there's quite a few things happening that I used to never care about. I used to just buy real estate, not care. And but I brought up a chart yesterday. I'll bring it up real quick. The other thing that they announced this week at the Federal Reserve was the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which they fool most people into thinking that that's inflation. And they mix it up. CPI, Consumer Price Index, and then M2 money supply. And people mix up both of these with the word inflation. But inflation, the real one that actually impacts your life, is not the price of bread or milk. It's the printing of the dollars, the increased supply of dollars. And that has been going up at a rate of 7% since 1960. So over a 10-year period, if it's going up 7% consistently, we're right here. Over a 10-year period, $1 million will buy what 500,000 buys now. Essentially, every 10 years, your money gets cut in half. But people get distracted because they look at the CPI and they go, oh, it's 2%. It's 2.4 is what they reported for this quarter.
Rounding down.
Yeah. So everyone's like, wow, look at that. Okay. So we're only being thieved about $100,000 every 10 years. But no, it's manipulated beyond belief. The real number is the money printing. And that's 7% year over year. So you're losing half of your value every 10 years. So in thinking about that, when people put deals together and they're like, oh, I'm getting a 10% return. I'm like, so you're really only getting like a 3% return because.
But still better than a CD.
Right. So, when you're putting your deals together and you're looking at your internal rate of return, what's the lowest ROI that you take on a deal?
30%.
30. That's incredible. 30%.
I will not get out of bed to make anything less than 30%.
Or move some pigs.
Or yeah, exactly. I will not leave the farm. I will not even approach my computer or my phone
Oh, that's awesome.
for less than 30%.
30%. That's amazing.
And part of that was because I knew this, that dude, and it's and it doesn't matter who the president is. It
Right.
doesn't matter who's either way. You look back at history and it just kept going. And so so yeah, I just said, well, if I can do 30%, then it's better than a CD. And hopefully it kind of keeps up. Now, I will say that I technically do better than that. Even, that 30% is cash flow only. And
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
calculate the 30% by my dollars leaving my bank account and then how much money is coming in monthly. I don't factor any increase. Like, let's say I'm guessing a lot of you guys have seen how I do my deals. Maybe there's people new on here, but and so quick and dirty. In fact, here I just bought 2 houses last week. I'm buying one on Friday, and so I can kind of give an idea on well, we don't have, if we want to get into numbers we can, but essentially I bought a house last week for
Yeah,
800,000.
Scott's asking about numbers. How's the 30% calculated? Is it on the cost or off the sale price?
My dollars out of pocket. So I treat it similar to a CD, or how the bank would treat a CD essentially, where if you have $30,000 in the bank account and you want to make some money on that $30,000, then you drain that bank account down to zero, put that $30,000 into a CD, and now you're making, I think today was like 3% or 2.5% or something like that. And so now $30,000 is not in your bank account. No, you don't necessarily have access to it. Kind of. I mean, you kind of do, but you've committed that you won't, and it's producing 3%. And so I calculated the same way. If I got $30,000 in the bank account and I want to put it into a CD or a piece of real estate, if I drain that $30,000 and put it into the piece of real estate, I want to see a 30% cash on cash monthly.
Sure, you take a check.
Well, thank
return.
you.
Not sure.
Oh, good.
Okay. So I want to see a 30% cash on cash return on the cash flow, which in reality, if let's say that I sell that house in 5 years, 10 years, whoever, even the way that I do it, which I guess, sorry, I didn't explain it. So I bought a house for 800,000 on Thursday, I think it was, and literally sold the house the day I bought it for 880,000 on seller financing. And she put $292,000 down. Sorry, it was like 280 because well, this was actually a two for one deal. This was kind of cool. So she owned a house free and clear and said, Daine, I want to buy another house. But the bank said, flipped me the bird. The bank said no. and said, I make really good money. I run 2 businesses and have money in the bank account. Like but the bank said no, even though I've got a lot of money to put down. And so I said, tell you what, do you want to move now or do you want to sell your old house and then move? She's like, I can move now. Yeah. And so free and clear house, I gave her a loan on that for $292,000 and used that. And so she netted out like 188 or 189 or something like that after closing costs. And so she took that 280 some odd $1,000 that she got from my loan and then put that down on the new house of $800,000, but I sold to her for 880. And so technically I'm making, it's 2-for-1. I'm making money on both houses. Both houses now. But yeah, so she put 290, or sorry, 280. I can get the exact number here. Just because I'm just like, I know there was closing costs on her loan. And so 286,201 and 6 pennies. 286. Let's go with that. Anyway, so she put 286,000 down on seller financing. So I kind of whole sold the house via double close, but with a back end on seller financing. And so I figure that this house, let's see, I've got my numbers here. Here, let me share my screen actually. Share Safari. That one was Tolman. All right. So I bought the house for 800,000. I funded, or let's say borrowed, because I do own a hard money company, yes, but I could have borrowed this from anybody. Hard money lenders are a dime a dozen. And so 515,000 from Daine Hard Money, basically. And then my buyer put down, oh, I netted this or grossed this. What I say, 286, 201, and like 6 pennies or something like that. So she put down $286,000. I had some closing costs, insurance and title fees and whatever. And so I put $1,500 into this house of my own money so far. Now I am pulling, in fact, the appraisal is scheduled for today. Now I'm refinancing. And so I'm getting a loan for 520. And so you can kind of see that I pre-thought this. So I got a loan for 515. I will refinance at 520. And so I figured I would have $20,000 in loan costs, the origination, the title, the escrow, all that stuff. And so $20,000 in loan costs. Now she is making a payment. In fact, her first payment is due on June 1st. And so, and that's why I love doing deals like this is I literally bought the house on Thursday and I'm receiving monthly cash flow on the next first day of the next month. And so anyway, so I'm getting monthly cash flow from day one. Let's say it takes me 2 months. I think this is set to 2 months. Let's see. Yeah, so within, well, technically it'd probably be like 1 month, but let's just keep it at 2 months. So 2 months, I'll get 2 payments before my refinance. And so paying hard money fees, I will owe the bank $13,000 just to do the refinance. Now, technically I could have done less than this, but I just said, at the end of the day, if I'm $15,000 out of pocket total, I'm fine. And so at the end of the day, let's compare apples to apples. Let's say I had $15,000 in the bank account and I wanted to invest it somewhere. I could put it in a CD and make 2.5 to 3%. I could give it to a financial planner and maybe make 7 to 8 conservatively. If I'm doing, more
But that's just
conservative.
break even.
Yeah. could maybe do something a little more risky and make like 10%. Or I could put it into 7238 Tolman Circle and make, let's find out down here. All right, so she is paying a principal and interest payment. I know this says rent because there's no softwares out there that are for seller finance that are fancy as this. But base, I basically just retrofitted gross rent is my principal and interest because that will never change. So principal and interest is $4,891 plus taxes because she is a buyer. She owns the house. She pays taxes and insurance, and I have a loan servicing company that makes me look like a legitimate bank. They get a monthly statement, whole 9 yards. They can do auto pay. They can pay ACH. They can pay with a credit card, like they're served. So anyway, $30 in loan service fee, and then on the back end, wait, why are these different? 566 to 529. These both should match. what am I off? 403 to 366.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's copy that and paste it here. Oh, I transposed them under some numbers. All right, there we go. So the two should match. Okay, yeah. So income, or let's call this other income, taxes, insurance, loan service, but I have operating expenses of taxes, insurance, and loan service. And so at the end of the day, all said and done, I put $15,000 into this, effectively like having a CD. So if I had 15,000 in the checking account, now I have $0 in that checking account, and I'm producing $1,255 per month.
You're getting a 100. Oh, yeah, there
my
it is.
gosh, yeah. Exactly 100%. That's crazy. I hadn't looked at this yet, but so now again, like I said, I will not leave my farm or whatever, leave the ranch. In fact, I think we might have finally come up with a name that
Oh,
might
yeah?
stick. Not quite a ranch.
Not quite a ranch.
No, not quite a.
Knock?
Not quite a ranch.
Not quite a. Oh, okay.
Like
Like a tree or
NAHQ.
something. Not quite a ranch.
Not quite a ranch. I don't know. We'll see if it sticks.
It's-
I was rooting for that damn beaver ranch.
That works great.
And I love it, but my wife says that some people look at her funny when she says that to people. So anyway, oh, did I just lose power? No, because the computer's still on. Oh. All right. So anyway, if I had 15 grand in the bank account, I effectively put that into this CD of Wild Tolman, and now I'm producing 100% rate of return. Now, like I said, this one's a unique deal because she put a ton of money down, but I wouldn't get out of bed. I take it back. I get out. To Micah's point, I get out of bed. I would not approach my computer or take the phone call if I couldn't make 30% on this deal. And so, in other words, she could have put a lot less money down, and I would have been fine. She just wanted as low of a monthly payment as she possibly could, and I said, "Yeah, put more money down, and you'll lower the payment." And so yeah. So now this cash on cash return. Sure, I'm hitting my minimum of 30% cash on cash on the cash flow. But there is also an amortization aspect to this that I can increase to my bottom ROI, my bottom line ROI. I won't receive it until she refinances me or until she sells the house or whatever, but because I'll receive a big check. But technically, my interest rate will be, actually, it's going to be less than this. I think my interest rate is going to be sub 7, which here, let's play with that. So let's say I get like 6.99% interest on this. We'll find out after the appraisal comes in. Then my cash flow jumps to 1,400. I just went conservative because I know for sure I can get 7.5. So let's say I get my 6.99. Now I'm at 1,400 per month. My cash on cash return goes to 114. And sorry, I lost track of where I was going before I saw that. So amortization. So my interest rate is 6.99, 7.5, either way. I'm charging her like 9.375. And so technically my amortization is going faster than hers is for the first, let's see, I did the math on this once just to kind of get an idea. It's like the first 20 years that my amortization is going faster than hers, which the average mortgage, the average house changes hands every 5 to 7 years. The average mortgage resets itself every 5 to 7 years. And so the likelihood of me going 20 years on this are low, but hey, it could happen. But anyway, so my amortization is going faster. So I would be paid out more if she refinances, which I could add to my bottom line ROI. Also, if you remember, so I bought it for 800, but I sold it to her for 880. And so she owes me, let's see, 880 minus 286,201. So she owes me 593,799. let's call it 594. So she owes me 594. If I owe my bank 520, I will receive a check for whatever that difference is, 70,000. Let's see. I'm not a head math person. So if I owe 520, whoops. 74,000. So I would receive a check for $74,000 if she refinanced today. If she refinanced in 1 year, that dollar amount would be bigger because again, my amortization is going down faster. And so I was 15,000 out of pocket. I need to account for that. And so if I say minus 15,000, then essentially the profit margin there would be 59,000. So basically I'm $59,000 ahead. So in other words, let's use the bank account analogy. I have 15,000 in that bank account. I drained it down to 0 to do this deal. And then I'm getting per year, here, let's change this to yearly. Per year, I'm getting $17,000 per year. So let's say let's just say 5 years. And so let me copy that, 59,000. And sorry, you guys can't see me doing this, can you? Oh, how do I do this? So you guys can see my math. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Why is it not letting me do this? How do I just do like a calculator? Let's see if it lets me do this. So dude, why is my computer like not letting me do anything all of a sudden? Panic. It won't let me type anything. Anyway, let's
Weird. Yeah, mine was goofing around with me this morning too.
I wonder if I just need to quit Safari and reopen it. Anyway, I'll just tell you guys. Okay, so let's say we go 5 years. And so at the end of the day, cash flow is 17,000. Let's see, let me copy that. So if it's 17,219, and remember, I seller finance this, and so I have 0 cost. I will not change any water heaters. I will not fix a leaky roof. Like nothing. There's no other expenses that I need to account for other than if I have to foreclose. But this house is worth 800,000. So if I foreclose, I'll make more money. So 17,219 times 5 years. So in that bank account, let's say I didn't spend the money. So it went from 15,000 down to 0. 5 years later, now that bank account just received that cash flow. I have 86,000 in that bank account, plus I received a check. Technically, it'd be more than this because, like I said, my amortization goes faster, but I'd have to like do all the crazy math. So let's just leave it at the 59,000. I would receive a check for, oh, sorry, I would receive a check for more because I subtracted out the 15. I would receive a check for 74,000. So in that bank account, 15,000 down to 0, cash flow for 5 years would bring it to the 86, plus I would receive a check for 74,000 in 5 years. And so in that same checking account, I would now have 160. So $15,000, 5 years later, 160. So that makes sense, I hope. People follow along, or did I lose anybody? Yeah, and so not quite a ranch. So yeah, so that's, I don't know how let's see, we could do that. We could do that return. So 160 divided by my 15,000.
900%.
So let's see. Yeah, 160 divided by 15,000, that is basically 1,000%. But we did it in 5 years, and so to annualize that, So that's basically the IRR would be the 1000% IRR. But I need to divide that by 5. So that is 213% annualized. So it'd be as if I took that money and put it in a CD, and that CD for 5 years produced 213%.
Hey, that's beating that real inflation number we were talking about.
Not compounded, but straight annualized, 213.46% annualized return.
That's a Twitter right there.
Slightly better than inflation.
Hey, that's better than gold.
So yeah. No, like I said, this is like a really good deal. But as you can see, even if I'm doing 30% return, if it pays off in 5 years, it's still better than the 30, but my cash on cash, that's like the number that I care about, is grocery money. Am I receiving money every month to maintain liquidity, essentially, to maintain cash flows? 30%. The rest to me is just cream. Bonus, because in 5 years or 10 years or however long it takes, let's say it goes 30 years, then I never get that big bonus. I mean, yeah, I got it over time, and technically I made more money because of the interest aspect, but I
Okay,
took it over
so
time.
that's going on the positive side. Let's talk about the negative. Let's say next month she ghosts you. No payment,
Oh man.
no phone, no communication.
Gonzo. So let's say
Yep,
she just
Gonzo,
comes,
what do you do?
like,
And
doesn't
well,
make a payment, doesn't,
yep.
like, she moves out, like, we go to the house, nobody's there. Well, I wouldn't go to the house. I send the constable over to the house and
You
says,
sing Guido?
so the constable shows up at the house, knocks, nobody answers, puts papers on the doors. The attorney takes, basically goes through the court system, and now this house is mine in 3 months, maybe 4. And so in 4 months, I own a house that's worth 800,000. That I have a loan on for 520. And so I sell the house for 800,000. So 800,000. And let's say I don't have any realtor hookups like I do, because like I could sell this for, I could pay my realtor like $2,500 flat fee. I could talk him into less, but I feel bad doing that. So let's say I pay a flat fee of, or let's just use full realtor commissions. 3% plus 3%. So I pay 6% commissions, plus title would be 1%. And so 800,000 times 0.993. I cash out 778,000 minus my loan of 520.
No, that's not right.
Oh,
800 times 7%. You'd have to
sorry.
deduct 56.
You're right. I put 973. So, all right. So let's minus that. All right. So 744. So I basically cash out 744, but I owe the bank 520,000. And so I cash out 224. So let's use that same analogy. I had 15,000 in the bank. Now it's at 0. I didn't get one single monthly payment at all. And she stopped paying and moved out, like gone. Literally had nothing to do. Had no one to talk to, just had to go through the court systems and take the house. Effectively, that same account would be now at 224,000.
And then you'd have short-term capital gains on that of 20%.
Actually, no, because if it's less than 1 year, I can basically count this as, because I own an S corporation, I can count this as ordinary income as if I basically flipped the house. Bam.
Oh, interesting.
Ordinary income, baby. S corporation.
Yeah, it would be. But would you, and you can also sell this one, Dane, as another seller financing,
Yeah,
like
I'd probably just do that. I'd probably
yeah,
sell it on seller financing a second time. But let's just
transfer
say that
deed. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Oh yeah, I would definitely.
And
I would
you can
definitely
make
try.
even more money.
Yeah.
So-
And because of the situation on this one, instead of doing a big down payment seller finance, I'd be like, hey, 5% down. I technically already made my money when I did the deal last week. And so if I get 5% down, then I'm still money ahead better than I was. And 5% down, the payment would be a lot higher. So my cash flow would go up from the original deal that we just showed. This deal, like basically my cash flow would go up from this deal. Let's say we did, oh, come on. Yeah, why won't it let me? Here, let's just shut her down. Let's shut down Safari and open it up again because Zoom is working. Safari's not.
Also, everyone needs to switch to the Brave browser if you're tired of being spied on. Brave browser. It's a Chrome protocol, I guess would be the word. And so you can, like, all the stored logins and everything in your Chrome, when you put Brave on your laptop, it just moves it over. But then
Oh, interesting. All right. So let's go to Carl's mortgage calculator. I always forget the actual DR calculator. So Carl's mortgage calculator. Let's say I take the house back and I don't just sell it and cash out. Let's say I sell it for 800,000 again. Actually, you know what? Let's say I want to sell it fast. Let's say I sell it for 750,000 because I want to sell this lightning fast. There we go. So 750,000 and I do 5% down payment and I charge, let's see, where's my interest rate? Oh, let's see, we got to change up here. Payment. Interest rate, let's do, I don't know, 7%. Because I want to be like, hey, better than the bank is given. 7% interest. Let's see, what was our principal and interest on the first deal? 48.91. Okay, there. Let's just say we match it. About the same. So let's do 7.125. Close enough. So this would sell because this is better than what the banks are offering right now. 5% down for 7.125%. Like, banks don't do that. To get the best interest rates known to man right now, you got to go put 20% down or so. Stop paying PMI. And so I could do 7.125, no PMI, and so $30,000 move in.
That is awesome.
And so I match, effectively match my cash flow as I was. But now, if they refinance this, they owe me 712 and I only owe 520. And so let's say this person sells it in 5 years and make payments, then 5 years down the road, I'm a lot more. I can't do the head math, but like 400,000? No, 300,000 some odd. Instead of the 160 in plan A, we're like 300,000 in plan B, plus the down payment that I received here. So anyway, just it gets better.
So why don't you put the 2% over what you get? Like what you did with the first one. So is that
What do you mean?
because you're right. You put like 2% over to when you do this, right?
So yeah, so
So
I'm paying. I'll end up paying around 7%. She's paying like 9.375.
so it's even a little over 2%.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
So
saying,
why
why are you making this one 7 when the other one was 9?
right. Why are you not doing the
That
9?
makes sense. So it's easier to go to a human that's saying, I can't buy a house. I've been trying, to be like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I'll buy the house, whatever interest rate I can go get with the best, basically the best interest rate known to man because I have an 800 FICO, amazing debt to income. Like I am a tier borrower. I will add 2% to whatever I can go get. To tell that to a person that I put the house on the market, like it's a different mindset. That mindset is like, Daine, please help me. And I say, here's what I'll do. And they're like, done, let's do it. But if I have a house and I don't have the luxury, I'll call it a luxury. If I don't have the luxury of being able to talk to the human who wants to buy a house on seller financing, because I have a realtor, they have a realtor, and those two realtors talk, but not me and the buyer. Like it's 1, 2, 3. It's 3 layers removed where I have to tell my realtor, realtor tells their realtor, and their realtor tells them. It's a lot more difficult. And so in those scenarios, it's tougher to push. It's tougher to push market. It's possible, yes. Have I done it? Yes. But I have to wait around longer for a buyer. I have to wait. I basically have to wait. I have to wait around for that buyer that's just like, we want it, we'll pay it. Like we've been trying to buy houses, and your house is the one we want on seller financing because we have to do seller financing. So yes, it's possible. I only put this because this would sell in like a day at what I'm showing right here. At 5% down, a 7.125% interest, people would be lining up at the door to do this because this is better than what the
Yes,
banks are offering.
absolutely.
But yeah, but
Absolutely.
you're right. I could be like, hey,
Okay.
minimum 20% down, interest rate like 8.75. I could do that. I could do this, sure. But
Well, would that be, better? I guess, selling it in the, contract for deed, seller financing type. So if you sell it like outright, then you get all your money and then you can start,
go find another.
new deal like
Yeah.
what you're doing with this one in the first time.
Yeah, I could go do 3, 4, 5, 10 more, depending.
Right. Exactly. Because you're gonna have a lot of money coming in because that's a lot of down payment that this borrower is putting. What's the scenario of this one? Just couldn't qualify because the income
Yeah.
they're not showing the income. That's probably
Yeah,
what.
she's not an immigrant. She's just a business owner, makes really good money,
Um,
pays hardly any taxes because she spends it all, and
mhm.
is how I translate that nowadays. I think we were talking about this a few weeks ago that taxes are flattery in my opinion. Whatever. She spends all her money, and so she pays no taxes. And so she, even though she makes good money, she can't qualify. She can't go to the bank and say, please get me a loan to buy this house. Even though when she sells the old house, because the old house that I gave her a loan on, it's probably worth like 450. And so I only gave her the 292. And so she'll still cash out 100 grand or so on the old house when she sells it. And I told her, hey, you could put more money down if you want and lower your payment or keep it, do whatever you want. And so she's like, I'll just keep it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
actually, I have a quick question to this. So, can you talk a little bit more about some of the people you've getting houses for? Because I'm having these conversations, and like I had a conversation yesterday with this mortgage guy. He's like, "So you're funding people that miss payments?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not funding people that miss payments." Like he just couldn't wrap his head around people who are unbankable, because to him that automatically went in his mind, it automatically went to someone who doesn't qualify because they did something wrong.
Okay, so ask him this question. Say, Mr. Bank. In fact, do we have a lender? Do we have a loan officer? Yeah, Gilda.
Yes.
So Gilda, answer me real life, answer me this question. Okay. And I'm not pitching anything, whatever, but real life, let's have not even role play. Like, tell me if this really happened. So Gilda, tell me, does it ever happen to you, or has it ever happened to you where somebody came to you and said, I would like to buy a house. Can you help me get pre-qualified? And you go through a whole 9 yards of doing that process, and you find out that they make good money. However, let's just use this one gal's example. They make good money. However, they're a business owner, and so they have on paper, on their tax return, basically that you have to use for qualified income, they make like $10 or whatever. They make very little money, but they make really good money. But on paper, they make hardly any. Before I go on, let's answer that question. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I have one right now. So, because of the education that I'm learning from Renatus, I can actually get this person to do it creatively. So now she's still gonna be able to buy the house. And
Oh yeah.
this couple, they make like over, they're making about $100,000 a year.
So Tamara, did you pick up? This is just the first question. I got more.
Yeah, I would love to hear more of your questions.
Okay. So right off the bat, now Gilda is a student, and so obviously she's not going to be like, yeah, Daine, let's like do this. She's a student. She's gonna do this herself. She like she said,
Yeah.
she's gonna go help them. And anyway, so that's the first question is, do you have people like that they make good money, but on paper they don't? Answer is, she's like, yeah, I'm somebody right now, right? If you were to guess, does this happen to you like kind of regularly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And in those scenarios, is there ever a scenario where they actually also have money in the bank where like they could put like 20% down, for example?
Yes.
And or
Mhm.
have you ever had that
The-
scenario, right? So now we're like weeding people out because people make good money, but they don't always have money in the bank account. So they're good, they're not always good savers. And so technically we've already talked about two different types of clients. People that make good money, but they spend it all, but at least they can make monthly payments. People that make good money and they save it, right? So third is, do you have people who make good money like this, but spend it all or whatever, don't have qualifying income, and they own a house with a good amount of equity? So like the gal that I just showed here, they have a good amount of equity in another house that they would like to sell in order to get the new one. Do you have any of those scenarios?
Yes, I do. In fact, I just got a call yesterday with that. Yeah, a house outright, but he wants to buy a bigger. Actually, he's buying there's a house, like two townhouses that are for sale as like a combo, and he wants to buy that. So he needs to get like a loan from the house that's outright and to
Yeah.
put down on the second,
So
the deals. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So guys, this is real life. Like, so
Yes.
tomorrow, next time you talk to that loan officer, ask those questions. Like, notice that I didn't ask Gilda, do you have anybody that has crappy credit? Like, I don't even,
Most of them.
I don't ask about credit. I ask about their financial situation. Do they make good money, but it doesn't look good on paper because they write it all off? How about this one, Gilda? How about, have you had an immigrant? Have you had an immigrant come and say, hey, we would like to buy a house? We're new to the country or whatever, and can you help us? And you're just like, oh, like, do you have credit?
Yeah.
No, but technically those people fall under the first question I asked Gilda. Are they making money? Right? They're probably business owners, I would dare guess, if they're an immigrant, or they're making good money and saving it, because I don't know why, but it seems to me that that's something that immigrants do when I meet them. So Gilda, do you ever have people like that are maybe not just necessarily business owners, but they're immigrants? They're immigrants, and so it doesn't matter what their credit is because they don't have it.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm working on right now with three teachers, but they cannot qualify because this got here, but they do make good money. I mean, decent
Yeah.
money. So what we're gonna do is buy a house, and they're all gonna share because they're only like individual. They don't have their family with them,
Mhm.
and so they are going to get that. So what we're doing right now is I'm being a creative. So how, yeah, would they can get a house that they're all gonna be paying for it.
Yeah,
So
so basically a triple
yeah,
income.
yes, there is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love those.
And no, even no documents. They call and all that and
Yeah.
ITINs and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I get all kinds of calls.
So
So,
Tamara,
yes, 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 and yes. All yeses too.
like, do you see how easy this is? Like,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
oh my goodness, like people like this exist all over the place. And so no, Tamara, like, no, you're not being like, hey, loan officer, do you meet people that don't make their payments and that's why they can't? No, no, no. Do you find awesome people that are contributing citizens to society They're because they're making good money, which means they're contributing, right? They're high value. They're contributing citizens to society. And the lenders, not Gilda, the people that basically Gilda gets money from. So let's call it the underwriters. Or I guess Gilda, correct me on this. The lenders, I guess, because Gilda, are you a broker?
Yeah, I work for brokerage. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gilda's the broker. So she's not the
I
one that
deal with
says, "Here's
over a
my
couple of
money." She's
hundred
like, "Hey,
loan.
here's
I
this
mean, like
person's money."
lenders. Mhm.
Okay. And so when Gilda's like, "Yeah, all these lenders said F you to you, even though they make good money, even though uh, they have a down payment or they have old real estate that has equity that they could sell." All of those people that are like, "Yeah, like we're federally regulated, whatever," all those, and so here's all the parameters and here's the box that they have to fit in. And it's a pretty small box. When that doesn't work and they're still contributing citizens, Gilda can be like, "Yeah, let's get you a house, but we're going to be creative." Now, Gilda is a student, and so obviously, but Tamara, I'm going to guess that your loan officer that you were talking to is not a student, and so you are his outlet. I am a lot of realtors' outlet. I am a lot of loan officers' outlet that are like, "Hey, Daine, I got one that's like this. Can you help?" In fact, I just hit, every once in a while, I hit a jackpot of somebody that's like, "Oh my gosh, this happens to me all the time." I just got one of those. This is actually a really interesting situation. So one of the houses that I bought, oh no, sorry, that one wasn't really. The one I'm buying this week. So the one I'm buying this Friday, get this. A gentleman tried to kind of duplicate what I do. In my opinion, he did a terrible job. He would probably agree. I don't know if he would like me to say that, but in my opinion, he did a terrible job. And he did a bunch of them. And he is trying to get out of all of them because they're not working the way that he thought they would. And and so and they all have a good equity. So for example, the one I'm buying on Friday, let's pull it up. I'm not sure if I have this completed yet, Torwood. 250. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this one's not, I'm still working out some details on this. Let's check it out. So I'll buy the house from this guy for $250,000. It will appraise, it will appraise for 400,000 today. So I'm getting a massive discount on it. The gal that is in it, that he basically did so effectively I'm doing like a rate and term refinance kind of, like in the lending world, like a lender would grasp that. Like basically I'm buying it for what what she owes this guy, and I'm buying it from the guy. So it's almost like I'm buying the mortgage, kind of. But the rates are going to change. Like her payment's going to go up by a few $100s. Anyway, so I'm buying it for what she owes this guy. It would appraise today for 400,000. And I figured I would do a loan. In fact, here, I'll work live right in front of everybody where I'm going to figure this out. So let's say I go do a loan. In fact, I saw that my bottom line, so 27.5 cash on cash return. I don't want to leave I don't even want to approach my computer for that amount, which we talked about. And so I can mess with, because there's so much equity in this, I can mess with my interest rate might be a little bit lower than this, but let's just leave it there. I can mess with my, oh wait, have I put the payments in here? Sorry, one sec. Cash flow, holding costs. Oh, that's right. So her payment is 2,090, no, 2,300. So if her payment is 2,300, I will receive that for a couple months. So let's add that in there. Let's see. purchase costs, refinance cost. Oh no, I need to do holding costs. Where's my holding cost? Rehab, refinance, rental income. Oh, here we go. So she'll pay that payment during, let's call this the rehab phase, because again, this software, I basically repurposed this software to do what I do. All right, let's look at that. Okay, yeah, so we hit 30%. Okay, so at the end of the day, I buy it for $250. I get a loan for $237, hard money. I refinance it and get a loan for $240. Do a rate and term refinance through somebody like Gilda, basically. Pay all my closing costs, pay all that stuff. She is bringing like $4,000. Do I have that in here? Yeah. So she's going to bring $4,000, which I told her she didn't have to bring anything if she didn't want, because there's enough equity. But she's like, yeah, I want my payment a little bit lower, so I'll bring some money. So all in all, let's use that same analogy. Let's say I had $16,000, $17,000 in the bank account. I'm going to drain that down from 17,000 down to zero and put that in this house, and cash flow almost 500, 494. And this is a really small house. It's like a condo, townhouse or something like that. So cash flow 494, and my cash on cash return after being 16,000 out of pocket. So apples to apples, a CD, my CD, if you will, is 35.1% cash on cash. But like we showed, she's going to owe me, let's see, let's do the math. She'll owe me 250,000 times 1.1 minus her 4,000. She will owe me 271. And let's see, I'll owe the bank 240. And so if she sells this in like 5 years, minus 240, I will cash out $31,000. I was already out of pocket 17, and so I'm not a head math person. Oh, let's just leave that. So basically in 5 years, so are we yearly on this still? Yearly. So 59.19 per year plus a $30,000 check in 5 years. So let's parentheses that, plus parentheses 59.19 times 5, so 60,000. So if I'm doing my math right there, yeah. So basically in 5 years, that if we compare it to like a CD, that's $16,000, $17,000 down to zero. I get $5,900 per year. And so in 5 years, that stacks up. Again, if I don't spend anything, in 5 years, that stacks up. Plus she sells the house and I get paid back. That $16,000 would be now $60,000. So $60,000 divided by I'm just going to round this up, 17, or let's do 69. 16,900, whoops, divided by. So divided by the 16,900 that I first put in. I need more parentheses here. This one's getting crazy. Why is that not liking me? Parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, yeah. So now why doesn't this like me? Parentheses divided by 16,900. Okay, so 60,000 divided by 16,900. I just like broke my cat. Oh, here we go. So that's 358% divided by 5. Oops. So that's effectively a 71% overall annualized return. So not as cool as the other one, sure, but better than a CD. And all along the way, enjoyed cash flow because, like I said, cash is king. I want to make sure that my company is always capitalized by cash coming in and the bonuses at the end. Like most people that do just straight rental properties, the cash flow is small in the middle. You know, basically while they own the house, the cash flow is less most cases. And then they have huge appreciation and give massive, you know, check at the end, where I don't have a massive check at the end in comparison to a landlord. But I got amazing cash flow all along the way with maintenance free, like stress free deal, homeowner mindset, basically. Like if the house breaks, they fix it. And still getting 71% annualized return based on a 5-year turnaround here. So anyway, hope that makes sense. Questions?
Yeah, Dane. What's your average like turnover with this?
Let's see. I have done. My Safari is doing that thing again. All right. All right. So I've done 36 of these, 38 of these. And let's see, do I have an average in here? Let's just, I don't have parameters for averages, but for example, so this one I received 54 payments. So almost 5 years. I don't know what is up with a Safari, but I cannot. It just like doesn't let me do anything unless I like double click. Anyway, so 54 payments, 50 payments, 30 payments, 50 payments, 2 payments. Like this guy ended up saying, this was actually a cool one. Bought a piece of junk ugly house. He lived basically in the bathroom while he remodeled the rest of it. He had like a microwave in the bathroom, remodeled the whole thing, and then we were going to refinance. But he was just like, dude, I'm going to sell this. And so made 2 payments, and then we sold it. So I still made my money because I bought it and then sold it for more. And anyway, so I got paid after 2 payments on that one. Anyway, 48 payments, 13 payments, 46 payments, 12 payments, 45. So, and obviously these ones are new down here. And so basically the longest one I have is 54 payments. But then some of these ones that like drop, so like this 55 East, he made 13 payments. And then this was a cool one too. He fixed it up, and then a year later, looks like, so 13 payments later, he was like, dude, I'm gonna sell it because I'm gonna make a bunch of money. I was like, dude, it's up to you, man. Like, this house is yours. So thanks for the payments and thanks for the stepped up basis, you know, that I did for him. And so anytime we see a drop, that probably means that yeah, right here, this means that it sold. And so yeah, so I have them that are still going, even at the close to 5-year mark. And then some of them that went 30 months, or sorry, 32 months, 19 months, 16 months, 2 months, 13 months, 12 months, 17 months. So these are just the ones that sold 8 months, 13 months. And then all these ones are all just new down here. And so they haven't had a chance to
So
season
everything that you
on, but
have, oh yeah, there's a payoff date. Yeah, I see that. Okay.
yeah, so all the ones that are dropped, there's a payoff date.
Okay.
So
Oh,
anyway,
actually, yeah, I guess they are holding it for a few years.
yeah. And
So that's
so
really good.
yeah, most of them looks like to me are going over the year mark. And even some of these that are just brand new or within the last year. If I don't count those, then yeah, I've got a lot of them that are 2 years, 3 years, 4 years that are going. And so yeah, so there's still
That's
turnover.
awesome.
Like it's
Oh,
not
yes.
like all of these go 30 years or whatever, but
But you're getting a lot of new ones too. So
yeah,
it kind of, offsets those that are paying off.
totally.
Yeah.
So like just if I
That's
just count last year, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 last year. So far
7
this
paid
year,
off.
7 new ones.
Oh, new ones. Okay.
And then if I count the ones this year so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far this year.
So
So
you have 12 so far. How many paid off since last year?
oh, so in last year or
Yeah, just last year.
so
Like you had
2024
seven new, and how many paid off?
looks like only one.
Oh, okay.
In
Yeah,
in
that's
2024
a
I only
really
had
good.
one.
Yeah, pretty good ratio right there.
And
So
Dane, quick question. So I know I've asked this before. You don't buy the house and then have have the person find you. You buy the houses and then I
To
mean
find the
they
person.
yeah.
Because it's an easier conversation to be like, hey, here's what it's going to cost. Versus if I have a house on the market, I have to be competitive to whatever else is out there. If I find the person first, I have no competition effectively.
And generally they're bringing you the house, so you don't even have to find the house. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. I literally am like, go pick a house
Yeah.
and I'll buy it. So like the one we spent most of the time today, the Wild Tolman, like she picked that house. Uh, and I said, sure, I'll buy it. Let's make an offer. And so made our offer because she wanted it and then purchased it. And so yeah, so and which again is like the value for those people, because a lot of people, like let's say somebody has a realtor that knows seller financing and they're just like, hey, I know that you need seller financing, so let's get you seller financing. And so their options are search whoever is open to seller financing by advertising it. And so they let's say that realtor is like, okay, client, these are the ones that people are advertising seller financing. Do any of these houses work for you? And they're like this one, they basically the slim pickings basically. They have to settle on the house that they want most of the time because the house that they want, the person is not offering seller financing. And so what realtors can do, and I've seen realtors be real creative with this, and my hat goes off to this kind of person, is the realtor will be like, okay, pick the house that you want. I will go negotiate with the seller and say, hey, I got a really good client. Will you offer seller financing? I know you're not advertising it, but will you, my client loves your house. Would you consider seller financing? Yes or no? And so sometimes they get them, sometimes they don't. I'd probably say more often than not, they don't. But hey, there are realtors that are doing it. And I've heard the stories. Me, I'll be like, go pick any house you want. Just name it. And if it's for sale, pull up Redfin, pull up the MLS, pull up Zillow, pull up, classifieds, whatever. Any house that's listed for sale. I mean, technically, even if it's not for sale, if they're interested in selling, then we'll do the deal. But pick any house you want that meets all of your criteria within your budget, all whole 9 yards. I will buy that house and I will seller finance it to you. And so like that is the added value, where sometimes those realtors that are really good, that are like, yeah, like let's find you seller financing. Technically it's cheaper. Like that realtor saves their client money over me. And rightly so, because they're doing all that negotiating direct to seller. But let's say they do all that and everybody's like, no, 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 no. And they're like, oh, we really wanted that house. Then that same realtor can be like, all right, Daine, I've got one. We exhausted all options and they have to have this kind of a house and no sellers were open to it. So let's do it with the Daine method. And I have realtors like that's what they'll do, is they'll exhaust all of their options of trying to get cheap seller financing. And then if nothing else works, they're like, all right, Daine is the next best option. I hate calling myself the last option. but if I become the next best option, then they get the house that they want. And so let's see, would you ever market Would you ever market a house you buy with seller financing and include all the terms? I'm not sure what you mean by that. And include all the terms.
Maybe you're talking about like the
Oh, like
30-year
interest.
interest,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
all that.
Dana,
So
this is kind of what I'm talking about. So if you were
yeah, so
to
I
foreclose
had
on
a
a
house.
house, oh, yeah.
So I had a house that I already owned. In fact, it was the house I used to live in Taylorsville before we bought this place. So I wanted to seller finance that house partially just for the story, to be able to say that I seller financed the house that I lived in and used that to buy the new house. And so, and I waited around for, and this is what I was talking about with, I can't remember who we were talking to, but I waited around for that buyer that had 20% down and was willing to pay my rate. And I was longer than average days on market because of that, but I still sold it, just took longer. Anyway, so on that house, I basically marketed, I can't remember if I marketed the rate, but I basically said seller financing, 20% down. I think we did actually say the rate, but yeah, but I basically said 20% down. Anything else I will reject. And so if you're going to make an offer at less than 20% down, you'll probably waste your time. Unless the interest rate's like 10%, then sure, I would maybe consider less down. But I basically just said seller financing, 20% down. Or I might have even translated that into, let's see what I sell that house for, 550. So I said, seller financing, $110,000 down, house is yours with, whatever the monthly payment ends up being. I might have advertised an interest rate. But yeah,
Okay.
you kind of got to be careful with that because I'm not a loan officer, and so I can't advertise rates per se.
Yeah. By the way, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Question beyond that. Question that I'm kind of dealing with on a particular home is I'm wondering how could I market a home, but the payments are going to be like my current payments, if I refinance, are going to be about 2,000, but the rents in the area are going for like 1,300.
Mm-hmm.
13, 14, 1,500. Would somebody come in and say, hey, yes, I want to buy that house, and then take a $2,500 payment, but they could also be renting for, 15, and so save like at
Yeah,
least
because
1,000.
there's a drive, like there's a drive for home ownership. And so to increase payment like that though, that it has to give somewhere. So if you increase payment, you got to give in down payment. And people would be like, cool, like I know the payment's higher, but hey, I only had to bring. Here's an example. So my older brother, never joined Renatus, thought I was crazy, but feeds off of all the little snippets of advice that I give him. I helped him seller finance his house, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he accepted like 0 down. But because of that, he is getting night and day higher monthly payment than rents, but also like per capita, that if I were to seller finance the same house, much higher payment than I would get or charge because of that. Like he accepted, if he had a down payment, it was like less than $10,000. Like basically, in my opinion, that's basically nothing down. And so virtually nothing down, sold the house for 950,000. So it was a nicer home, higher end home, 950,000 sale price, like less than 10,000 down. And so his monthly payment that he's receiving is through the roof. Again, apples to apples comparison to like what I do. And I told him the risk. I was like, hey, if he stops paying, like effectively you're like a landlord, like you don't recoup anything and you have to sell or finance it again. And let's say you had to kick him out over a few months, then you would be making your own payment for a few months and whatever. And let's say they trash the house, then you don't have any recourse by receiving, anyway, so there's
Right.
risks, but,
Right.
but to him, he was like, all I care about is the cash flow. And so he's like, I will accept virtually nothing down and boost that monthly income because now he's got a seller finance mindset buyer client in the house. I personally don't like to do that. I like to basically the example I showed. If they fail, if they default, I'm not going to cry. if I was in his shoes and that buyer defaulted, I might cry a little, but have to do it again. So anyway,
Yeah, and you kind of answered those questions a little earlier too when it comes to the payments, but because I'm wondering, okay, if I put 20% down, or tell them, hey, 20% down, and
my apologies, guys. I'm 2 minutes late into my next appointment, so I got to jet.
okay, yeah, okay, yeah. So,
but yeah, see
but
you
when
guys next
say
week.
that, got it.
Go have conversations. Love you all.
You're awesome, Daine. Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
buddy. Thanks, everyone. Go have conversations and follow the process. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow morning at corporate. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dane. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody.